In the new world of college sports, the TCU scouting department is more important than ever.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 years. We're brought to you today by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances today by downloading the Monarch Money app. I'll tell you more about them later on in the show. Rhett Gray, a new commit for TCU in the 2026 class. Offensive tackle from Weatherford. Good player, big frame, 6'7", legit 6'7", also plays basketball, around 300 pounds. He looks like your prototypical offensive tackle prospect. We'll break that down in segment 2. But let me be the first to welcome you to the new world of college sports. And if you follow college sports and specifically college football closely, you might say to yourself, it feels like every week or every 2 weeks, something's changing. Yeah, that's pretty accurate, but a seismic shift in the world of college football. I'll tell you why it's important to TCU, but mainly I want to focus today on how the TCU scouting department, led by Jeff Jordan, is now maybe the most important part of the program. It's certainly up there as one of the most important parts of the program. You might say to yourself, well, yes, scouting, talent development, that's an important part of any football program, any football enterprise. But let me explain what's happening in the world of college sports. So we are moving, starting on July 1st, so yesterday, to a revenue sharing system in college sports. That means college athletes can and will get paid directly from their school. TCU will be cutting checks or paying them through PayPal, apparently, directly to their student athletes. They have $20.5 million in this calendar year to spend. That's the salary cap. And that's a calculation based on how much revenue is flowing through college athletics at the moment. So it could go up, it could go down, but most likely over the years, it's going to continue to go up. Now, NIL still exists, but the new system in place, the way it's supposed to work is that all NIL deals over $600 will now have to be approved by a third-party clearinghouse, NIL clearinghouse system called NIL Go. The College Sports Commission is the new enforcement arm of college sports. They will be the people that are enforcing the rules, that are creating the rules moving forward. So that's the key when it comes to how things are changing in college football and college sports. What does that mean for TCU? Well, when this ruling came down, and this was all from the House settlement, which was a number of antitrust cases that were brought against the NCAA, I told you that this was good news for TCU because while the Flying T Club and individual donors and businesses, I felt like did a really good job, especially when it came to player retention. TCU put an emphasis, and I think they still will, on retaining guys who showed what their value was, right? But I think when you look around the country, big programs and some smaller programs that were just well-funded were throwing around crazy amounts of money for players and were winning recruiting battles that maybe in the past TCU should have or could have won, or at least would have had a good shot at. So now, supposedly, we are walking into a world where things are more on an equal playing field. The market should be set, and teams and schools should adhere to it. Now, you're still going to have, we really need this offensive lineman. We have to have a left tackle next year. Let's overpay. But when NIL was initiated, the idea was pretty simple. College athletes deserve a piece of the pie. This is a way that they can do it. And it's going to be done through local business deals. Your quarterback gets a deal done with the car dealership to do some advertising. Your wide receiver who likes to drink chocolate milk inks a deal with a local dairy farm, or whatever the case is. But they were supposed to be relatively small compensation deals that would help athletes out, give them some branding, give them some power. But what it quickly turned into was slush funds where people were just drawing up these dummy contracts. I was like, oh, yeah, this person is partnered with random business over here, but really it's just this individual donor giving them their salary. And hey, TCU was doing that too. I don't mean that in a bad way. People were taking advantage of the situation. That's human nature. That's life. But in theory, we should now be moving towards a world where all of this is more above board. So what does this mean for TCU? Well, Jeff Jordan is the head of the TCU scouting department. His official title is assistant athletic director for player personnel. But I remember a few years ago, Sonny Dykes was on a ticket with Corby Davidson and Bob Sturm. And he said, look, Jeff Jordan's or Corby asked him specifically, was like, hey, you know, in college sports now, in college football, we're seeing all these general manager positions pop up. Suddenly we got all these GMs. Do you have a GM? Are you going to hire somebody like that one day? And Sonny was like, well, yeah, we have a guy. That's not his title, but Jeff Jordan is in charge of scouting. And at the time, his big focus was the portal. I don't know if that's changed, but he discussed how TCU had narrowed down their portal prospects by making a list of guys they had a good relationship with during high school recruiting, and also making a list of guys from the DFW area, scouting them during the season. So if and when they hit the portal, they were ready. They knew who this player was. They knew what he was about, and they were ready to pounce. They could sell to those DFW guys, hey, come back home. We'll get you some playing time. We'll get you right. You can revamp your career. They would sell those guys they had relationships with previously. You remember us. We were close last time. Let's get it done this time. We know how to use you. And it's been a mixed bag, but I mean, I think certainly that team that played for a national championship, a lot of that was transfer portal driven. They hit on the guys that they landed. So we are now stepping more into an NFL model when it comes to talent acquisition. You have to be smart about what you're going to spend. $20.5 million. Not all of that's going to football, but I was reading a story from Nicole Auerbach. I've seen other college football reporters say this, Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports, but Nicole Auerbach, she's at NBC. She was doing a recap of all this. And she said most schools, the way they're going to divvy it up, 75% going to football, 15% going to men's basketball. That's 90% of your revenue share right there. I'm a mathematician. And then the other 10, it kind of depends on at your school what programs are most important. So for TCU, women's basketball, that's becoming a big deal. Men's tennis, women's soccer, beach volleyball. These are all sports where TCU has had a ton of success. Rifle, they've had success there. They're going to have to allocate something to those student athletes. But 75% of your funds are going to football. And it's easy to identify talent, but if you can't just overpay everybody and things are supposed to be more in line with market value, well, your scouting now becomes a premium. Finding guys that are a fit for your roster, finding guys who you can develop and get the best out of, and spending your money wisely. I'm going to talk in segment 2 about the latest offensive line commit, the latest 2026 commit for TCU, Rhett Gray, offensive lineman on the Weatherford. They have been aggressive in allocating money to the trenches. They want to be good up front. That's football 101. I love it. even in the past happy world that we live in now, you're not winning games unless you can be physical up front. So that's got to continue now. But you have to also understand skill players, defensive players, your linebackers, your safeties, your corners, they have to be good too. And when you're building an NFL roster, you got highly paid guys, but then you've got a number of players who might not make the cover of Madden, but they have to do their job. They have to be effective starters. So 5 or 6 years ago, when Sonny started rolling at SMU, he was on the cutting edge of this. He was one of the first people to really understand how to use the portal. And he was kind of in a perfect situation with being in Dallas, being at a school that could offer immediate playing time, and largely going after former Power 5 guys and saying, hey, come back home. We'll get you on the field. We'll revitalize your career. Whether it was Shane Buechele or the number of guys that he helped get back to where they needed to be. I'm not totally sure they're on the cutting edge right now. And I think from a scouting standpoint, that's the next step. Do you feel comfortable with your staff at the moment? Do you need to add to it? Because it's always an arms race in college sports. For years, it was about facilities. You wanted to have the best facilities, the best presentation, because when you got recruits on campus, you want to say, these will be the amenities when you're here. This is what you're stepping into. Then it moved to NIL money, right? It's okay. Here's what we can pay you. Well, it's still going to be about money, but it's also going to be about how can we get you to the next level? You want to know why the SEC pulls in 4-star and 5-star talents all the time? Because they put guys in the league. Go read any recruit. I'm going long in this segment. I'm going to have to take a quick break and come back. But go read any recruit around the country when they commit. What are their dreams? What are their hopes? What are their aspirations? They're pretty much all going to say playing in the NFL. Now, we know the numbers. Not all of them are going to play in the NFL. In fact, it's a pretty minute percentage when it comes down to it. But that's what they want to do. So they need to trust the coaching staff that they're not just going to make them great college players, but that they're going to prepare them for another payday later on. So that's the challenge now for TCU. Things are on a more equal playing field. Okay. Identifying talent, finding guys who are a fit for what you want to do is now more important than ever. When we come back, we'll talk about one of those players next here on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team every day. Well, hey, speaking of money, TCU, the scouting department, they're going to have to allocate their funds correctly. You have to allocate your funds correctly. Go to monarchmoney.com. You can use the code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year. It's a budgeting app, yes, but it's not just that. Monarch Money, one of the things that helped me do was cut out those recurring payments, those subscriptions. And I'm like, wait, I'm still paying for this food delivery service. I'm still paying for this streaming service. I didn't know. Monarch Money helps you condense that budget down. It's also a wealth management center, though. You can track your investments. You can put all your accounts in one place with your spouse. So that's all there. Full transparency. MonarchMoney.com. You use code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year. I wasn't great at math, but I know that's half of your first year. Use that code LOCKEDONCollege. Again, that's MonarchMoney.com or download the app today. Monarch Money, take control of your finances. Do it now. So just to kind of put a bookend on that segment, it's now all about where are you allocating your funds and how are you trying to build a roster? And I think TCU's excelled in some areas. At wide receiver, they have an outstanding job. I feel like it hasn't totally paid off. Hopefully we see the fruits of their labor this year, but the offensive line, it's been a build-up. They're getting there. They're getting there from a numbers perspective. I do think there's some areas of this team, running back, it just doesn't seem like they've really pushed hard enough since Sonny took over. Now, the first year they had Amari DiMercato, they had Kendre Miller, but since Amani Bailey had a really good season, I guess maybe that it's kind of hard to tell because they went 5-7 that year. last year was tough. This season, you're not really talking about reinforcements coming in. Kavorian Barnes from the portal, but I think he's going to be a short yardage guy. John Denman, I mean, the opportunity is there for him. It's about the guys that were already on campus stepping up and developing, and hopefully that can happen. But of course, as fans, we're always drawn towards the new and the different and the changes. On the recruiting front, though, 2026 class, TCU's been red hot. They've landed a lot of players. They landed another one on July 1st. That was Rhett Gray from Weatherford. 6'7", 290 pounds. Again, the emphasis on the trenches, specifically the offensive line from this coaching staff, is a really encouraging sign. This is a good class from an O-line perspective already. You got 4 of them. Vincent Johnson Jr. and Devin Robinson are the 2 headline names right now. Both 4-star talents. But both of those guys, they're playing tackle at the moment, but they project as interior offensive linemen. They're going to be at the guard spot most likely. You now have 2 tackles, though. Rhett Gray from Weatherford is one of those guys, and then Jordan Burnett, who is a tackle from Ridgepoint. But when you turn on the tape and watch Gray play, I mean, he just towers over everybody, which is a great sign. He's got a mean streak. He has that attitude, that intensity, that kind of nastiness that you want from an offensive lineman. Another player that likes to fire off the ball and just bury guys. Plenty of highlights where he's just laying on top of dudes after driving them 4 or 5 yards off the ball. I think the movement there, he's got areas to grow in, and the biggest one is he's not slow. He just doesn't look very fluid when he moves. You know, there were instances on the highlight tape where he's pulling around, pulling meaning he's going from one side to the other trying to get a block, and he got there. It just didn't look like it was the most fluid motions. And getting in his pass set, trying to kick that back foot back and keep his depth, keep that outside shoulder in front of the defensive lineman. He was doing it. It just kind of looked like he had a little hitch in his giddy up. And so those are things that they'll have to work on. But I like this pickup as someone who they can develop and get in camp and get ready for the future. And AJ Ricker and Jeremy Clark did some reporting, actually talked to Rhett Gray. He said in a quote that his relationship with the coaching staff was really what brought this deal home and got it done. Specifically with Coach AJ Ricker, but also with Sonny Dykes. His final 3, Rhett Gray's, Houston, Northwestern, TCU. So they beat out Houston and Northwestern. Houston's doing some good things on the recruiting trail right now. Willie Fritz is a good coach. That's a team that I think is going to be tough and physical, and we'll be able to get the job done for a while. But with Gray, I don't see him as someone who's going to come in and start right away. But again, with offensive line play, you need numbers in that room. You need a lot of guys that you can just assess and see, okay, where are they at? How can we improve them? Who can play right now? Who's somebody that can maybe play 2 or 3 years from now for us? And you go from there. And there's always the opportunity that you'll be surprised. I mean, Ryan Hughes, who's most likely going to be your starting left tackle this upcoming season. Sonny said in an interview with 365 Sports, he's like, look, that was not a dude that we evaluated and thought to ourselves, okay, this is a day 1 starter. And he wasn't a day 1 starter, but he was a contributor his freshman season. By the end of his freshman year, he's getting snaps in games. I mean, he was playing in that Oklahoma State game. By his sophomore year, I mean, he's going to be a starter. And there's pros and cons to that. You get him a lot of experience. You also have to deal with some of the growing pains. And I think early in the season, I mean, between Hughes and Ben Taylor Whitfield, and Ben Taylor Whitfield has played a lot. But between those 2 guys being the bookends of the tackle position, you're going to see some moments where it's like, man, this is kind of tough to watch, but they have to take those lumps to get better. Now with Gray, I think the plan will be that you grow him up in practice so he doesn't have to go through those moments in the game as much. But from a physical frame standpoint, I mean, he looks like a starting left tackle. And TCU's done a good job of kind of stockpiling guys like that. Tobias Steps was a big-time prospect. And I don't think just because Ryan Hughes kind of jumped in front of him, it doesn't mean anything's wrong with Tobias. It just means, hey, it might take a little bit longer for him to get acclimated to what they're doing. Wesley Harvey, a very underrated guy, but fits the bill for what you want at that position. Rhett Gray, another one of those players that has a similar build, has a similar frame. It's just about finding the best way to get the best out of him at the next level moving forward. So he is the latest to join the 2026 class. And as of now, they have 16 commits. They are 36th in the country and 4th in the Big 12. So even with kind of a slow start, they're right there where they need to be. We'll come back. We've got player ratings for the new NCAA football game. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. So a housekeeping note, and I'll remind you tomorrow, I'm going to have Clint Foster on the show on Thursday. He just did a documentary and actually premiered at the Panther City Film Festival, won an award there, I believe, about the Alma Bowl, the Bram Kohlhausen comeback victory. It's about the Alma Bowl itself. It's about Bram and his unfortunate accident that where he fell out of a plane, had an injury, but he's working his way back to recovery. So it's about both Bram's story and that team, those two incredible seasons of TCU football, 2014, 2015. So I'll talk to him about that. No show on Friday because of July 4th. But then we'll be back on Monday, 5 days a week. If you've been tuning in June, you might be, why was it only 3 days a week? Well, there's 1 month of the year Locked On goes into off-season mode for college football, college sports. So I took the opportunity to go from 5 to 3. And really starting this week, we're back full throttle. But because of the holiday, taking Friday off, we'll come back Monday and we'll be back to 5 days a week until, well, the end of basketball season, really. But leading you up to that season opener against North Carolina, which is just a few months away now. EA Sports College Football 2026 player ratings. I'll give you a moment here. I'm going to pause dramatically on the podcast, which is not great for audio, but here we go. I'll let you guess in your mind, to your kid, to your dog, whoever you're listening with, who you think the highest rated player is for TCU football in this video game. I'll give you a second. I'm going to guess the most popular answer was Josh Hoover. He's second. Bud Clark is a 92. How about Bud? Man, it'll be so awesome to be highly rated in a video game like that. I mean, Bud's highly rated in real life, which is more important, but just to be able to play as yourself in a video game and know that you're really good, that's got to be incredible. But Bud Clark's a 92 overall. Josh Hoover at 87, Eric McAllister 87, Namdi Obizor 84, Devin Deal 83, Colton Deary 82, Elijah Jackson 82, Jeremy Payne 82, Caleb Alarmzor 82, and Kavorian Barnes an 82 as well. EA Sports also did a list of the top 20 quarterbacks in college football based on their player ratings in the game. Josh Hoover didn't make it. He should have. Number 20 was Sawyer Robertson, which I've talked about multiple times this offseason. For whatever reason, Sawyer Robertson getting the nod over Josh Hoover in a lot of these preseason lists. But I'll say it again. It doesn't really matter. We're at the point in the offseason where it's like, okay, if TCU's not getting the hype, if they're not getting the shine, if Josh Hoover's not getting that, that's okay. We're getting closer and closer to the actual games, which is where this stuff is decided, in between the lines. And thankfully, TCU is going to get opportunities on a national stage, starting with that North Carolina game where all eyes are going to be on Bill Belichick and his program, but people are going to find out about TCU that night. And hopefully the returns are really good. Playing SMU a few weeks later. Team that was in the playoff last year. Same thing. Playing Colorado this year. Playing BYU. There's going to be chances for TCU to show who they are and what they can be and what they can do. And Josh Hoover will have as good of a chance as anybody to show that himself. We'll be back tomorrow. talking football, talking sports as we do every day. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're also free and available wherever you get your podcast.